Hey everyone, welcome to the lesson. Every once in a while I get a question about bending and how to get better at it, how to practice it, maybe how to think about it and approach it. And I figured I would finally do a lesson on it. It's something I've never talked about on this channel, and it happens a ton in Trey's playing and just in lead guitar playing in general. And I think it's really worth looking at. And I have a couple ideas of how we can maybe approach it and practice them. So jumping right in the intro of this video, I did a playthrough with a melody that would have a bend at the end of each phrase. And I purposely did it so that right before each bend, I would play the fretted note of the pitch that I was trying to bend up to. And I think that's a really good place to start with your bending. So I do a lick here that leads into the bend to start out. It's just like a little E major arpeggio. The chord that I'm playing over is a C sharp minor, so it works pretty well. And it goes like this. Now, the first part of it is not really the important part for what we're looking at here, but when I get to here, I'm playing that note because that's what I want to bend up to. And this is really the main point I wanted to make. You can practice your bends by playing first the note that you want to bend up to. And there are different ways you could practice it. You could try playing the note and then trying to get right to the note. I was a little flat that time. So there's hardly any time in between fretted note and bent note. Now, well, that's a really good way to practice getting more precise with where you bend to. So anyway, the lick that I do starts out here. I hit the fretted note, then bend up. And then another way to do it, instead of going right to the note, try to go purposely under and create that tension that leads up to the note. And then I came down here and did another kind of E major and a little slide down. Then I went to the 4th fret of B, which is a D sharp, and then bent from the 6th fret of G, which is a C sharp, up to a D sharp. And you may be seeing a pattern emerge here as far as how the fingering is. Like if you want to bend to a note that's on the B string, you're going to be 2 frets up, 1 string higher, and you're going to end up matching that note. And we can actually do those notes together. That's a really cool sound, like a little 2-note bend. And in fact, that's a really good way to practice it too, is just to try to play those 2 notes at the same time. But I'm actually going to come back to that in a second. The second lick that I played here, starting on 4 of E. So I hit the 4th fret to hear where the note is I want to get to, and then bend up to it. Yeah, so you can have a lot of fun with this. And but you know, one thing I probably should say too is I find myself using the other fingers too to help push the string up. If you're really new to bends, if you haven't played around with them really at all, one thing that I find a lot of times if I'm teaching people bends for the first time is there will be a tendency to just try to bend like this, or you know, where these fingers are kind of lifted up, and then maybe you're using the ring finger would be a common one you would use, and then it's really insanely hard to do it that way. So I'm using the other fingers too, because my fingers aren't strong enough to do it just with one finger all the time. Sometimes I can do it for a semitone bend. So you see how I'm using those other fingers. That's something to think about. If you try to bend and you're using one finger and your other fingers are kind of lifted up like this away from the fretboard and you're having a hard time with it, that might be why. It may be that you just need a little more help with the other fingers. After that lick, then I went up here and did this little run that starts on the 11th fret. Now, this is actually kind of what I was just talking about, doing a bend with one finger. So this one, I'm going to do a semitone bend. The other ones, I should have said this before, were whole step bends. So we're bending in the first case from an F sharp up to a G sharp, which is a whole step, and then bending from a C sharp up to a D sharp, which is a whole step, or you could think of it as just 2 fret jump. And then this next one, again, 11th fret of E, so I'm at the end of that lick, I'm hitting an F sharp with my middle finger on the B string, and then I go 1 fret below on F natural and bend up to F sharp. Now this one I do with one finger because it would be kind of too much of a hassle and it goes by too quickly to move my ring finger over to get the other fingers involved. So that one I just tough it out a little bit because it's only a semitone bend. Now moving on to the last lick that I did in that playthrough, I went up here and did this little kind of G sharp 7 kind of run. So I start on 11 of E again and then go like this. Now I hit a C and then bend, just like the last one, a semitone up. So I'm going C, B, bends up. The reason that I'm doing that kind of goofy fingering is because just of the run that happens before. You can see my middle finger is up here for the couple notes before the bend happens. It just happens to be up here, so it's easier for the pointer finger to come down here and grab that note and play it. So it really comes down to circumstance and context. I wouldn't get too dogmatic about which finger does this or that. It really comes down to what is the best, most logical way to do it for the circumstance. So again here, 11th fret of E. I hit a C and then I bend up to a C. Try to get it so there's as little difference in sound, in pitch, as possible between those two things, the fretted note and the bent note. And you can kind of, do all kinds of different exercises, maybe do a chromatic thing. As I moved down to the left, I realized part of the utility of practicing it and moving it is that you may find that the farther to the left that you go, the harder it starts to get to bend. And I think that's because there's more tension on the strings toward the nut of the guitar. It sure seems a lot easier to do a bend way up here than it is down here. So just like I was talking about a little bit ago, how it depends on the guitar you're playing on, that'll really greatly affect the feel of the bend. But even on the guitar, where you do it will really affect the feel. So one more time on that last bend. Now, one last thing to think about for now, and then maybe I'll come back to this if people want more lessons on bending. Earlier in the video, I talked about two-note bend, and this is something that happens a ton in. It happens in Trey's playing a lot. It happens just a lot in rock music in general. You'll hear it kind of like this thing, like and something that really is special about that kind of approach where you do a two-note bend is that there's this thing that happens when you have one note holding down the pitch and then one note bending up to the pitch that the other one's holding. There's this kind of wobbly sound that happens in between. So listen really closely and you hear it. It's this. It's just kind of the best. It's tension release, tension release. So for that one, this is another point, is that if you're trying to do a 2-note bend on the B string to the E string, you're going to have to do it over 3 frets. Whereas if you do it G string to B string, it's over a 2-fret run. And I'll show both of them. So if I'm over here bending, I'm going to bend to an E. I have my pointer finger rooted on E, and I try not to move that. It's going to be really tempting if you try this 2-note bend at first to bend that string as well. But try to keep that one as still as you can. Go to the 15th fret of B, and then that one is going to do the bend. Now, as I'm doing that, and I was thinking about saying you have to keep the pointer finger rooted and really planted down. Part of the way that I accomplish that, this is just me, so take it with a grain of salt, is that one finger is bending up. The other one, in order to maintain its place, I end up almost like pushing the other way to help maintain that original pitch. So here it is again. This finger, really watch this finger maybe. And then, you can put some vibrato on it too, and it kind of wobbles it around again. So that's that. And you can play around with moving that. Maybe use this video as a primer that you can take the ideas and then make your own practice routine from. I always think that's the best way with practice, is to be creative with it so that you enjoy doing it and then you want to play more and improve on the technique that you're working on. Now moving on to a 2-note bend on the B string and the G string. Now instead of the 3-fret distance that we have here on the E string and B string, now we're going to have a 2-fret distance, so it's a little easier. So we're going to be on 12 of B, which is a B, and then the ring finger is on an A natural on the 14th fret of G. And with this one more, I could see this finger wanting to kind of creep up a little bit. And so I was having to do that balancing of kind of pushing it down. So you may find that too. Maybe a little vibrato in there. And notice that this finger is helping this finger push up as well. And then you can move it around. So again, those are just a couple ideas to get you started with bending. Just a couple things to think about. Being really conscious of what the note is you're trying to bend up to. Maybe which finger you're using. If you're only using one finger, can you maybe use another one to help get the string lifted up a little higher? Things like that. And have fun with it. See if you can create your own exercise with it, or maybe find a song that has a lot of bending that you can learn and get something out of as well. So as always, I hope that helps, and let me know if you have any questions about it. I'll try to answer them the best that I can, and I'll see you soon.